good, everybody? It's your boy Legal FX, back at it again with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to properly backtest, right? So oftentimes, people, when they begin to learn how to trade, they finally get a little bit content with the information. Oftentimes they don't know exactly what to go back and study or how to properly study. So in this video, like I said, I'm going to be going over the 5 steps, my personal 5 steps on how to properly backtest inside the market. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here we currently have pulled up Euro USD. So this is going to be the pair that I'm going to be giving examples on. So the very first step to properly backtest, and it's super important that you guys understand that these are concepts and they're not just end all be all. So everything that I'm going to be giving you guys, you can either decrease it or increase it, right? So you can do more or you can do less, but I'm here to say right now, the less you do, the less you're gonna get it. But the more and more you practice this type of stuff, the more and more you're gonna get it. And that's why I'm even making this video, so you guys can pretty much understand and grasp those concepts that I talk about in my video, but know actually how to grasp those concepts. So the very first step to backtesting, right? The very first step is to focus on one particular concept. Focus on that one particular concept, right? So if we're talking about entries, or we're talking about structure, or we're trying to pretty much backtest, understand getting our trend lines right. So we want to focus on that one concept. We don't want to go from focusing on divergence to then focusing on trend lines to then focusing on Fibonacci to then focusing on support and resistance or supply and demand zones. We don't want to do a whole bunch of those things at one time, right? We want to focus on one concept first and then master that, and then we move on to the next concept, right? So like I said, if I'm focusing on entries, I'm going to focus on that. If I'm focusing on structure, I'm going to focus on that. In this case, I'm pretty much just going to focus on trend lines, right? So if I'm focusing on trend lines, then I ultimately need to only go back and backtest trend lines, right? So that leads me to my next step. Next step is you want to find a random area on the chart and begin. So that's the second step. Go back on the random area of the chart. Particularly, I would recommend that you don't go back to an area where you already know where price pretty much played out, like you already seen it play out. So you already got that thought in the back of your head, like, oh, I already seen Euro USD pushing up, so I'm going to backtest this area when I already know that it's going up. That doesn't help you. So you want to go back and find a random area on the chart where you pretty much haven't seen it. So when I go back to like pretty much backtest, I'll just scroll back as far as I can, and then I'll like hit replay and then just like click in a random area without pretty much me looking. But you can do it with your eyes closed, or you can just do it without pretty much looking. Like, you don't have to pay attention to every single detail. And also, if you go back like on a higher time frame, just like the weekly, then you don't know every single detail that happened like on a 1 hour, 30 minute, 40 minutes. So you can pretty much solidify that by just going up to a higher time frame, clicking a random spot, and then start it from that area. So once you begin starting from that random area, the next thing is you want to find 5 to 10 examples of pretty much whatever concept you're going to be practicing. And I kind of relate this to basketball, right? So if a basketball player was at basketball practice and coach said, okay, today I want you to focus on your free throws because last game your free throws were a little off. So we're going to spend this whole practice today focusing on solely free throws. So that's what you're going to be doing. The same thing applies to the chart, right? You don't want to just go from free throws to then going to dribbling moves to then going to rebounds all in one practice. Like, you want to focus that main practice on those free throws if that's a area that you're struggling in your overall like game. So same thing with trading. If I know I'm struggling identifying structure, that's the thing that I'm going to focus on. I'm going to be finding those 5 to 10 examples on structure and strictly structure. I'm not going to be focusing on trend lines or Fibonacci, X, Y, and Z. So after you find those 5 to 10 examples, what I mean by that is simply, if I'm looking for pretty much understanding, okay, trend lines. If I'm studying trend lines, then I want to study a trend line break and retest. That means I'm going to find 5 to 10 examples of trend line breaks and retests, or trend lines connecting those points. So here, if I have this trend line, okay, I see this connected from point 1 to point 2, point 3. This had 3 valid points. This is one example of a valid trend line. And then from here, I could go find another trend line. Let's say here. I can have this trend line from this 1 point, 2 point, almost 3 points here. That's another trend line. So that's my second example. And then if I want to find like an overall higher time frame structure, I can go do something like this. Where a higher time frame trend line, I can do something like this, right? So that's 3 examples right there. And then, like I said, you're gonna do this, find 5 to 10 examples, but you're not, the more you do it, the more you're gonna, your eyes are gonna see. So ultimately, this is all about training your eyes to be able to see what exactly it is that's going on in the market, because ultimately trading, all it is being able to see what is going on and then being able to dissect what it is that's exactly happening. So the more and more you practice whatever concept it is that you're focusing on, the more and more your eye is going to be able to naturally see those things when the things start to occur inside of the market, right? So let's just reiterate. First step, you want to focus on one particular concept. You want to focus on one particular concept and only study that area. Then from there, you want to go and find a random area on the chart and then begin to practice from there. Once you begin to practice, you want to then focus on finding 5 to 10 examples minimum for whatever it is that you're studying. Structure, trend lines, Fibonacci, X, Y, and Z. You want to find 5 to 10 examples. And like I said, the more you practice it, the more and more that you're honestly going to pick up on it. Your eyes are going to pick up on it naturally. So that being said, that leads me to my next step. 4th step is taking notes of things when you begin to notice them. So parentheses, every time price came here, it did what? So if I know that I'm studying trend lines, then that means I'm going to be taking notes of the things that I begin to notice. So here, the story on this trend line was, okay, every time price touched this trend line, it did what? It pushed down, it pushed down, pushed down, it pushed down. But then on this particular area right here, we just got a break of this trend line. So that lets me know, okay, if I'm studying this area, that I could begin to see, oh, once price came up here aggressively, it then broke and retested this trend line, that means there's a high probability chance of going up. But every time we came here previously, we kind of got like some consolidation. We had a counter trend line break and retest. We had a double top pattern here. We had a double top pattern here with like a bearish engulfing. So take notes of every single detail that you're finding at those particular areas, because that's what's gonna give you that confidence to know, okay, when this occurs in the market, there's a high probability chance that it's gonna happen again, because you've seen it happen time and time and time and time over and over and over again. But like I said, you want to take notes, because honestly, I always go by the saying, note takers are money makers. So I can't just have like a whole bunch of different concepts in my mind without actually understanding that I have to write those things down. Like I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of information that I can go back and then refer to. So I'm not just trying to keep it in the back of my mind without pretty much remembering it. That's like going to a college class and not taking notes the whole semester and then thinking you're going to be able to retain the information when it comes to the test. So same concept applies when you're trading. You want to make sure that you take notes of everything. Now, the 5th step is ultimately save the data, right? So the data of the pair that you're trading, you want to take that information, right? So you want to understand like, okay, what session was I in when this occurred? When I began to notice this drop, did I notice did it drop in London session, or did it drop in New York session, or did it drop in Asian session? Or did it drop, like if you're trading indices, did it begin to move at 9:30 when the stock market opened? Or did it begin to move, if I'm trading like gold or something, like did it begin to move right at New York session, or did it move like an hour after that? All of that is important data that you guys want to make sure that you save and keep note of when you're writing down those notes. Also, you want to pay attention to these things because it's going to help you learn your pairs, right? You want to be able to learn your pairs. Without learning your pairs, then you won't be able to pretty much understand the characteristics of everything that's going on with that pair. Like if I know that gold can move on average 100 pips a day, then I need to be mindful of that when I'm trading gold. I need to be mindful of those things when I'm placing my positions and placing my proper risk management, my proper lot sizes, X, Y, and Z. Like, I always have to be mindful of those things within my pair. So it's super, super important that you save the data to understand, okay, what session I am, what time frame I'm on, when does this pair begin to move, X, Y, and Z. So all in all, like I said, I'm gonna reiterate the 5 steps. Here we are. 1, focus on one particular concept. 2, find a random area on the chart to begin. 3, find 5 to 10 examples of whatever concept you're practicing. 4, take notes of the things you begin to notice. 5, to save the data. So let's just say I came here in a random area of this chart right here, right? And I just say, okay, I want to focus on trend line breaks and retests here. So like I said, if I'm going to focus on that, I'm going to focus on strictly trend line breaks and retests. So let's just make these smaller. Boom. So I see here, okay, this was the trend line and got broken. It didn't come up to retest this trend line. So I'm taking note of that. Okay, here, price failed to retest the trend line after it broke, but it did retest structure. So I'm going to illustrate that here. So we failed to retest this trend line, but we can see here that we had a level of support here that got broken and retested. So this was the last higher low point. Price broke, came back to retest. That let us know, okay, we never made it up to that trend line, but we did retest that structure. So when I'm taking notes of my trend lines, that lets me know, okay, price might not always come back to retest that structure. So that's super, super important. That's something I need to take note of when I'm overall backtesting, right? So let's go here again. Let's find another trend line. So we can see here, we had like this trend line. Boom. This trend line, we can see price clearly broke this area, came back to retest that area. Okay, cool. That lets me know, okay, on this particular trend line, we did break and we did retest that trend line. So now I'm very mindful. I'm taking note of that. So that means 1 out of 2 scenarios that on these particular trend lines, price broke and retested. So 50% chance at the moment that price is going to come back and retest that trend line. And then you're going to be doing, like I said, 5 to 10 examples. So you're going to keep going throughout this chart and focus on those particular trend lines, trend line by trend line by trend line by trend line, until you get comfortable with understanding your trend lines. So I hope this video was super helpful for you guys. I hope you guys learned a lot in this video, and I hope you guys make sure you take those notes when you're back testing, and I will see you guys in the next video. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Be notified when I drop new videos, because I'm going to be dropping new bangers. As you guys can see, the quality of the videos are starting to upgrade. You know, we're trying to level up with the vlogs, the lifestyle, all of that good stuff. So you want to be notified when I continue to drop bangers like this. And also, I'm only accepting 5 more students. I'm maxing it out at 100 students before I close enrollment for the Blueprint course. Currently, we are at 95 members. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you guys go to the link in the description so you guys can sign up to be a Blueprint student. And also, we're currently running a Halloween sale. It ends October 31st, but you can enjoy that 30% off on Halloween. Promo code Trick or Treat, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.